All right. Hey guys, what's going on, everybody? Back once again. Well, of course, if you guys know, there was some hot news going on, highly wide world pop culture news going on in the sports media and all the algorithms on YouTube. But at the same time, I wanted to give my own thoughts about the whole Matt Barnes and Stephen A. Smith situation. Basically, Matt Barnes calls him out after Stephen A. Smith's current comments about LeBron James and his whole reply about the city of Memphis. So Matt Barnes basically went on his own stream on his own socials, and basically replied and said that the old Stephen A. Smith will slap the ish out of the current out of the current day Stephen A. Smith. I know that Stephen A. Smith I met in Philly would have slapped the ish out of this dude. The ongoing feud between Stephen A. Smith and Matt Barnes taking more than a personal turn as Barnes delivered a sharp and emotional response to Smith's latest comments about him. Barnes, who has known Smith for more than 2 decades, framed his criticism through that history. He said that the version of Smith he met early in his career differs greatly from the personality seen today. I've known you for over 20 years, Barnes said, and I know that Stephen A. Smith I met in Philly would have slapped the mitch at this dude. You was too cool, too down to earth, and not with the bull-ish. Now that you got lots of ish, now it's more disheartening than anything. The latest chapter of their back and forth stems from Smith's recent comments about LeBron James in Memphis, which sparked a widespread reaction. Barnes pushed back forcefully, but he insisted his intent was not rooted in disrespect. I wasn't trying to disrespect. I look up to you. But what you've been on is some bullshit, plain and simple. Barnes said, and I say we, and I'm not talking about former athletes that used to rely, confide, and come to holler at you. Now we don't even know you. Barnes also questioned what he sees as a shift from how Smith forms his opinions. He suggested that outside influences and recent media alignments had played a role in the evolution. In doing so, Barnes expressed concern that Smith's current approach has changed how he's perceived his peers across sports and media. I just keep seeing that the reason you have such right-leaning opinions is because you get information from Bill O'Reilly's information team, Matt Barnes said. And I don't think you realize that there's people that you put in the same category now. That's what disappoints me, because I know you're not that dude, as he responded. Smith previously responded to Barnes defending his reporting and dismissing the criticism. He argued that covering James and other high-profile figures squarely within his responsibilities. Smith also challenged Barnes' credibility that he provides on his own podcast. Oh, hey, what's going on, Links? Underscore Nico Jr., what's going on? I'm just talking about the whole Stephen A. Smith and Matt Barnes situation. I don't know if you are familiar with any of them guys. Probably not, but if you are, just talking about that. So, but thank you for coming. I'm good. I'm good. Alberto Figueroa 1547. Hey, how's it going? How you doing, man? Smith previously responded to Barnes defending his. Oh, I already talked about that. And he argued covering James and other high-profile figures falls squarely within his responsibilities. And he also challenged Barnes' credibility that he provides on his own podcast. Smith has long built his brand on strong opinions and debate. Meanwhile, Barnes lead into candid, player-driven discussions on All the Smoke. Still, Barnes has made it clear that his frustration comes from a place of respect, not rivalry. And he said he still views Smith as someone he once admired, which makes the perceived change more difficult to accept. And Barrett Media produces daily content music. Okay. So yeah, that's pretty much all that Matt Barnes had previously said about Stephen A. Smith and his latest coverage and latest coverage, in the sports media currently today. And he really is expressing a lot of his disappointment because he's not the journalist and reporter that he once knew in the previous past 20 years. And Stephen A pretty much wants to challenge Matt Barnes' integrity, and especially because he doesn't really like Stephen A. Smith knows that Matt Barnes doesn't like his commentary, especially when it refers to LeBron James, not giving him the kind of outside of the NBA and his respect and his craft and pretty much his own taking more views on his statements in the not only politically but outside of the NBA. Stephen A. Smith is notoriously got into it with LeBron previously when he was criticizing his son, and joining the Lakers and going out to get Bronny, Reggie Buss and of course Rob Pelinka and them. So Stephen A. and LeBron James don't have a good history, at least recently, when it comes to the things that he's done behind the scenes and the stuff that he's kind of been doing and speaking on, that's not about the league and it's, pretty much been certain time politically driven and such. So Matt Barnes is pretty much expressing all of the frustrations that he's had with a guy that he once knew was a good reporter and was a good dude, wholesome dude at one point. And the things I really have a lot of disdain for Stephen A. Smith, and I'm glad Matt Barnes pretty much told it how it is because I watch a lot of his stuff on All the Smoke podcast with him and Steven Jackson, and I like what they do because even though they're being former players in the league, they know guys like LeBron, Kobe. They played against those guys before. They played against guys like Dwayne Wade and Carmelo Anthony. So if anybody could speak about them, it's these guys because I know they coming from a genuine, heartfelt place. Oh, Chicken Burger 5123. Hey, what's going on? How you doing? But yeah, the things that I really like about Matt Barnes is not only he tells it like it is, it's coming from a genuine place. Especially referring to not only Stephen A. Smith, but Jason Whitlock, Marcellus Wiley, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Oh, I'm doing all right. I'm doing good, man. I just wanted to get this video about Matt Barnes and Stephen A. Smith out, just expressing my thoughts, man. I like what Matt Barnes said, but at the same time, you kind of realize, a lot of them guys, as much as you like what they're saying now, they know they have a lot of demons and skeletons in their closet, so they're not 100% always going to be accurate. And it's cool to have discourse to disagree with anybody that feels a certain way that you're not feeling. But especially in this case, when he's speaking about Stephen A., I think he's making a good point. Because his commentary not only has changed, the man, Stephen A., like I said before in previous videos, is one of the highest media personalities, not only on ESPN, but in the entire globe. So if anybody does not know that, I think people should already know that by now, so I don't really want to go into that. But specifically saying, I just think that he knows exactly where his bottom line is. He don't want to say things to step on too many people's toes. But Matt Barnes doesn't care. He gonna step on anybody else's toes. He don't care. He gonna do whatever he can. Steven Jackson gonna do whatever he can to really, get their feelings and really their true thoughts about how they feel about a lot of these media figures. A lot of these former athletes that become media figures in ESPN that really jumping on the payroll now. So they're going to get their thoughts about it. They're going to get their thoughts about what they feel. And I think what Matt Barnes said is really a highlight and a key in importance because I do believe the old Stephen A. Smith that used to be in Bristol, Connecticut on ESPN would absolutely sock the mess out of this dude right now because, he's really getting so high off of his britches, being very loud, audacious, and rambunctious. And he continues to not only express a lot of disgust, things that he can go and join and run for president. I mean, come on now, thinking that he can be elected on the ballot. No, that ain't gonna work. That's never gonna work. I mean, he's too much of a contrarian, and I don't think anybody's gonna really go along with the mental block role that he has. He's too much of a hothead and too much of a figurehead. Even though you get paid that much money on ESPN, I don't believe that the political climate really wants to see somebody like him at least in the ballot and in the running in the office. I just don't think that that's the kind of notion that they want to see. But the current iteration that I see from Stephen A. and his personality, how he's drawn over the years, is not something that's for the faint of heart. And I really feel like Matt Barnes, like I said, getting a lot of his frustration off. There's a lot of things he really wanted to go in and really say, but he knows but he knows at this point if he really wants to go in and step on people's toes, and he really could do it. And he knows that Stephen A. Smith is in a much higher place, and he can come out with lawyers. He can come out with people that's in higher places and higher spaces that come down and really take down and sue Matt Barnes, and even folks that were even on his podcast on All the Smoke. So you know that Stephen A. Smith has so many higher power people that he has to answer to. So he really can't get his true thoughts on what he wants to really say. As far as a lot of the cursing, inflammatory language, the derogatory language, the derogatory image and language. So he don't want to get all those things, inflammatory words and phrases that he wants to get off. He can't really do that because he knows exactly where the bottom line is. Being on a market like Disney and ESPN, you can't get off what you want to really get off. So going on his own television, his own podcast on YouTube, he figured that he thinks that he had the chance to say those things and what he wants to get off. But in a way, he has somebody to answer to. With me, I don't have nobody to answer to. I don't have nobody to answer to. I don't have nobody controlling me or anything like that. The one thing that Stephen A. Smith needs to realize is a lot of these athletes that you thought you had relationships with, as far as outside of the sport that you're covering, outside of basketball, you're not really making too many friends. You're making a lot of common enemies. And the reason why that is because of you, because you're loud, audacious, and rambunctious. And you're too much of an emotional outburst, and who doesn't really think when he likes to speak, and thinks very irrational and very emotional on aspects and subject matter that may not always apply to you. And somebody like a former player and a former athlete like Matt Barnes, who's very close to a lot of individuals that are currently playing or are currently retired, he has that sort of plug and pull and connections. So at the end of the day, Matt Barnes can feel however he wants to feel, and Stephen A. Smith can feel how he wants to feel. I'm not going to tell no other grown man how they should feel, how they should not feel about what anybody else currently says about what LeBron said about Memphis, about how they feel, currently in the NBA, or former players that are no longer here. Whatever the case may be, I just feel as if that Matt Barnes has the right to feel how he wants to feel. And I feel like he's right on the money. Overall, I just feel like he's right on the money in this case. So, because Stephen A. Smith is not only taking a drastic turn for the worse, he's taking a drastic turn that I just don't think he can come back out off of. All right, guys, I'll be right back. I am back. So yeah. So those are just my thoughts about the whole Matt Barnes and Stephen A. Smith situation. It's just I feel like Matt Barnes has so much to offer to the media, to the podcast, and to that space with him and what Steven Jackson have done on All the Smoke. And I feel like the people that they once thought that knew, journalists that had journalistic opinions and journalistic integrity, and the reporters that they knew how to report on issues and stories and know how to be on the sidelines and knew what they had, don't really have the same common ground and commonality and interest. And I feel like what Stephen A. Smith is doing is completely causing chaotic disruption, and not in a good way of chaotic disruption, completely in a way where it's turning a lot of fans off and turning a lot of not of naysayers and a lot of fans that already disliked him in a way where people that once thought in the past, of course, him disparaging, making disparaging remarks towards athletes and towards black athletes in the past, previous segments on First Take, even back when they was in Bristol. Now they move in New York to a point now where not only he's becoming one of the more watched televised media personalities, but in a way where it's only been getting more toxic and more toxicity around him, and it's getting more abhorrently depressing to really corner. It's like you're feeling at a cornerstone at a crossroads, and not really having nobody else to really look at it in a way where you get a lot of insight. And so those are just my thoughts on my whole thing. It's just like very disappointed in the direction the way he's going. And I think Matt Barnes highlighting it is a very important thing and a very important subject matter. And Stephen A. has lied in his career about who he is, his journalistic background, his background. Think that he got in journalism when it's actually in other areas in broadcasting, majorly, and also about the highlights and scoring that he did and played at one point in time at St. Louis University. That's not who he really once was known. And so yeah, those are just my thoughts about the whole thing. Tell me what you guys think down in the comment section below. Got one more video to make. Probably make that another time or so. Maybe tonight. How I'm feeling about the whole Kanye being banned from the UK for performing his music because of anti-Semitic comments, and so on and so forth. All right, guys, I'm out. Peace.